Welcome to Finish the Race, a conservative Christian podcast where we'll dive deep into the current events and social issues affecting Americans.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
In times like these, truth, principles, and solutions matter. Through God's Word, we can restore our true American values, faith, family, and country.
However, I consider my life worth nothing to me. My only aim is to finish the race and complete the task the Lord Jesus has given me, the task of testifying to the good news of God's grace.
Now, here's your host, Eric-Thompson.
Hi, welcome to another Finish Race podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. It's Tuesday, April 26, 2022. If you want to get a hold of me, head over to the website. You can see the political articles that I write, because that's what I do for a living, at finishtherace.com, finishtherace.com. If I was to water down what happened today and what's been happening for the last few days, the left is freaking out and gone completely unhinged over Elon Musk buying Twitter. I mean, they are into the filthy, rancid racism attacks, anti-white to the core hatred flowing out of Twitter right now. So we'll get to some of the stories dealing with Elon and the Twitter employees and staff and the management. The Supreme Court is dealing with, should the Biden administration, did they have the authority to stop the Remain in Mexico policy? They heard arguments today on that. So I'll go over that with you here in a little bit, along with Title 42. And then John Durham, you know, that special prosecutor, the one that was put in by A.G. Barr, that was going to continue his investigations even when the administration was no longer in office. Well, he's like the turtle, but he's now coming to the finish race beating the rabbit. He has got 200 emails. Everything's attached to the Clintons, to the Perkins Coie, the law firm. But it's showing that even Adam Schiff in those emails lied, that he didn't know anything, because in one of the emails from 2016, it's saying, well, go ask Adam Schiff. Oops. Well, what did Adam Schiff know about the Russia collusion story in 2016 if he didn't know anything about it? So a lot is going on with the Durham investigation, and I think when it's all said and done, unless Joe Biden is still around handing out pardons, it could get ugly. But and he may actually have to pardon himself. The court may have to figure that out, because Joe's not there. We know that. And we're finding out that Hunter's business partners and other people did even another 8 visits to Joe and Hunter at the White House and over in Delaware, working on the business. So if the 2022 midterms go really bad and Hunter is indicted, it would not surprise me at all if they ask Joe Biden to step down. And he can claim it's for medical reasons, so they don't have to use the 25th Amendment to force him out. I really do believe that at this point. It can't be much worse. His approval rating's in the 30s. 2/3 of Americans they believe actually that his activities that he's guilty, that he has something to do with Hunter's laptop and all that. The country doesn't trust him, which is why the left has pretty much conceded the House of Representatives in 2022. And they're trying to get Joe to sign anything he can, because I believe that if it goes as badly as it might, especially if they lose the Senate, Joe may be stepping down for the good of the country and his health reasons. I could be wrong, but it can't get much worse. So here we go. Twitter. Twitter is a micro blog platform in San Francisco that is pretty. You go and you post a couple thoughts, and then the next person does, and you can react, but nothing fancy about it. But what happened is it ended up becoming a far left extension of the news media, where they would give journalists little blue checks, and they were influencers, and then they could go and post what they deemed to be news, and then that would go through and trend, and everybody would see what is supposed to be the news. CNN, MSNBC, all of them, all the journalists. And until Donald Trump really started to blow it up when he was running for president, it was really kind of it's like going to a far left coffee house in a metro area where if you're like me, I wouldn't fit in with people, but at least I would be allowed to drink my coffee and not feel the hatred. So as the company went year after year losing money, and Jack Dorsey ended up getting forced out, the CEO, after the 2020 elections, now without Donald Trump and with really no momentum, it's just kind of sputtering along. And so Elon Musk saw an opportunity that I could probably buy the company right now, because the stockholders would like to get a return on their money, since Twitter keeps losing money every year. They're not getting a dividend. This is probably a good chance to buy it. And his reasoning is that America needs free speech in the public square. The left did not see this coming at all. They even tried to do something called a poison pill, that when Musk was about to put his offer in for $42 billion, they went, and the board unanimously agreed, if Musk, who bought 9%, and then after that they said if he buys 15% or more, we're going to sell a lot of stock really cheap, and we're going to flood it, and we're going to diminish it, and we're going to make everybody's money will be worthless, and it would be too expensive for him to acquire all of them. So we're going to poison pill in position in case Elon, since he just bought 9+%, if he tries to go to buy a majority, we're going to destroy the value of the stock. So Elon's like, well, you have a fiduciary responsibility to the stockholders, and you're going to get sued. So I offer $42 billion for all of it. Now, I'm not going to buy just 10, 20, 30%, because the prince in Saudi Arabia said, nope, I refuse to sell any of my stock. So I'm going to say no on Elon Musk buying a majority. So Musk lined up financing and used a lot of his own cash and said, fine, I just want to buy it. I'm going to make it private. Boom. They're like, nope, we refuse. Well, then Musk just sat there and let people simmer, and the pressure was enormous because the board had no way to justify them turning down a high over market price bid for the company, except Twitter was never about making money for the left. It was to control the narrative through the news. The people working at Twitter are all far left San Francisco radicals. Think about it. When you go to work there, you're around LGBT radical 1, 2, 3 progressives, critical race theory, anti-Trump, anti-Ted Cruz, anti-Laura Loomer, anti-America, anti-Constitution, anti-white people. That's Twitter. And Elon Musk, who was born in Pretoria, South Africa in 1971 till he moved to Canada at the age of 17, said, I want it. I own Tesla. I own SpaceX. I own these AI companies. I'm worth 100 and whatever, 20, unlimited money. I don't even know what his final net worth was, but I'm just worth so much money, 120 billion, 180 billion, whatever it is. So what happens? Shock. It's just like when President Trump won and the entire left cried, got angry, broke stuff, couldn't go to work, called in sick, did TikTok videos and all kinds of videos screaming. Why? Because they didn't get their way. See, in the left, what happens is they create safe spaces and they create bubbles and they create environments where they think they can't get hurt and they can be as weird as they want to be. So they go to work for Twitter, get paid six figures, everybody's just like them, and no one's going to get hurt. And here comes Elon Musk. I'm just going to buy the company and we're going to fix the suppression of speech, the censorship, and I'm going to fix it. I'm going to get it back to where it's open speech, free speech. So how is the far left dealing with it? MSNBC host Joy Reid said Tuesday on her show that the reason Elon Musk, who everybody liked, he was the innovator, the quirky guy, kind of the weird guy, the reason why he's buying Twitter, the only reason, because he wants to bring back a system like the apartheid from the 1980s South Africa. He wants to put in position abused black population, people of color, and then rich white people. So Twitter is now going to become, because free speech to the left means white supremacy. Because you can't let people talk in a public square. The government needs to now protect people. So Joy Reid said, yeah, he's a racist. That's the reason why he did it.
As Elon Musk's deal to take over Twitter is being finalized, the end result is more than just control of a social media platform. Our nation was founded on the idea that it is we the people who hold the power, and it is we the people who elect representatives to exercise that power. But this latest news shines a light on the plutocratic republic that we are unfortunately very quickly turning into, where it's not we the people, but the ultra-wealthy who wield the power, who control so many of the institutions that have become fundamental to our lives. As David Atkins, a Democratic National Committee member from California, puts it, Elon Musk is trying to buy the conversation. Peter Thiel is trying to buy a dictatorship. Jeff Bezos is trying to buy the marketplace. Mark Zuckerberg is trying to buy our minds. Taxing the rich isn't just about helping the poor. It's about stopping them from owning everything. With me now, Jason Johnson, professor of journalism and politics at Morgan State University and host of the Slate podcast, A Word with Jason Johnson. And Jason, thank you for being on. It is, I think it was distressing to a lot of people, not least of which the people who work at Twitter, right, who, in their internal Slacks are really a lot of them are wringing their hands, probably not all of them, but a lot of them, and just worried about what becomes of their company. Elon Musk's companies have a history of open racism. There's been this lawsuit against Tesla, and he himself is a troll. So his idea of freedom means freedom to be a jerk and to be cruel and to have no one.
Yeah, so we need the government to come in and make sure that nobody can troll. Is that laughable or what? Bezos, far left radical. Zuckerberg, far left radical. But all of a sudden, Twitter, which was suppressing speech, was allowing people to dominate. Like the mullahs from Iran are still on Twitter, etc. But not Donald Trump or Laura Loomer or Tucker Carlson. And these two reporters here, Reid and her interviewee, both black Americans were going to turn this into it's all about race. Rich white men. That's why Twitter was acquired. Now, Elon, he's basically saying, look, I want free speech. I mean, he is a billionaire, founder of SpaceX, Tesla, The Boring Company, Neuralink, OpenAI, and now he owns Twitter. He went and tweeted today in response to a political article that Twitter's top lawyer was trying to reassure the staff. He started crying during a meeting about the Musk takeover. So Musk replied to the tweet, which Sagar and Jetty tweeted, Vijaya Gandhi, the top censorship advocate at Twitter, who famously gaslit the world on Joe Rogan's podcast and censored the Hunter Biden laptop story, is very upset about the Elon Musk takeover. So Musk replied, suspending the Twitter account of a major news organization, which was the New York Post, who broke the Hunter Biden laptop story. Suspending the Twitter account of a major news organization for publishing a truthful story was obviously incredibly inappropriate. And that made their engineers go nuts. One of them actually tweeted back, no, we were not suppressing truth. We were trying to follow our company policies. Follow our company policies that since his laptop was hacked into, we can't allow hacked information to be put around Twitter. That's why we suppressed it. Come to find out, the New York Times and Politico both admitted a year after the election, once Joe Biden was in the White House, we were wrong. Twitter, and we were all like not letting that get out to the voters. We were wrong. Actually, it's true, everything that you guys said. Oops. So there's a leaked audio which revealed the chaos that was taking place at Twitter headquarters. And there was a tweet by Andy Ngo. And what he heard from inside was that people were concerned for their mental status, their mental health. These are employees at Twitter that were telling the group, I am concerned about my mental health. And guess what the number one concern was? Donald Trump's account might be turned back on. They already turned back on Tucker Carlson, and they turned back on the Babylon Bee. But if Donald Trump's account is turned back on, these people don't know what would happen to their mental health. The far left is so afraid of anything strong, anything that'll call them out, anything that'll tell them they're wrong. They literally hide in these little think tanks and these bubbles. And that's why college campuses have safe spaces where they can hide if they feel upset from microaggressions. Well, that was Twitter. So listen to, there's just a short 1-minute video released by Project Veritas. Someone was in the meeting, and you're going to hear Leslie Berland, the chief marketing officer. And listen to what she says here about how their moderation policies and disagreements on how to deal with the health of the company. That Elon Musk is going to put the Twitter service and trust and safety of the platform, and anyone that's in the position trying to ensure that there's safety and trust on the platform. Now it's going to be a very difficult position at Twitter to try to do the job. Here is Leslie Berland, and then we're going to hear from the CEO that's, I believe, is no longer there, trying to comfort the snowflakes.
Public that a large part of the reason he bought the platform was because of our moderation policies and disagreements in how we deal with health. This puts Twitter service and trust and safety, as well as anybody who cares about health on the platform, in a very difficult position.
I believe Twitter grows as a service, allows for more people to use the product and have a better experience because we're able to make the conversation on Twitter be safe, because we have built tools, processes for people to be able to feel safe and control their experiences. I believe that there is a lot of work we have to do to continue making that better. Sometimes that means more thoughtful moderation. Sometimes that means making things simpler. Sometimes that means changing product incentives to be able to solve problems through products sometimes instead of policies.
Elon made it clear.
So you heard what he said. We need to be safe for people. Nobody should be told they're wrong, that Trump was right, that borders should be secure, that there's only two genders. So Elon Musk the stockholders still have to approve the deal. But it's operating now where Musk has already told the Twitter, the high-ups of the engineering team, lock the code. Nobody can get access to the source code unless they go through me. And like I said, Tucker Carlson, the Babylon Bee, and probably former President Donald Trump's account is going to be turned back on. And the employees don't know how to deal with it. They don't know what to do. Their bubble has been bursted. So that was the main story. That's what's been going on all day. Is that Elon is basically saying that what the company did in suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop story was flat out immoral. It was wrong. And employees, this is how we're going to deal with things. We're going to lift we're going to fix the algorithms. We're going to fix the code. We're going to quit suppressing speech, and we're going to quit shadow banning people. And because of that, the left knows they're losing a main tool that they need to try to win elections. My first sponsor, about a year and a half ago, my wife and I were tired of paying high cell phone bills and bills that were all over the map because T-Mobile had these hidden charges, and then they would charge me if I went over on the data. So I'm like, all right, Rush Limbaugh said something about a company called Pure Talk. So I checked them out. A year and a half later, I have to tell you that about 3 months ago, I was able to convince them to let me bring them on as a sponsor because I love Pure Talk USA. So do what hundreds of thousands of other people have done and simply switch to Pure Talk USA, and guess what? You're going to keep your same phones. You'll be on the same 5G network. You keep your phone numbers. If you could wake up tomorrow with the same number of bars, the same coverage, the same phones, the same phone numbers, but your bill goes down about 50%, and you get better customer service, I believe, through the Atlanta, Georgia customer service team for Pure Talk, and they do not have over data charges. It's a no-brainer. So check them out. Go to getpuretalk.com. Getpuretalk.com. You'll see it's 50% off on the pricing because if you put in the promo code FLS the first month, you get 50% off. So go to getpuretalk.com, put the promo code FLS in, and you will get 50% off the first month, and your bill is already going to be about 50% of what you've been paying. The average family saves about $800 a year without losing anything except high prices. GetPureTalk.com. Promo code is FLS.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
And get the biggest discounts possible. Go over to mypillow.vip, mypillow.vip, and put in the promo code FLS to save up to 66%. mypillow.vip, promo code FLS. All right, thank you so much for staying with me. This is the second half hour here as we're going to go over a couple decisions that the courts are dealing with, reference immigration and the Biden administration. Again, thank you for joining me. Check out my articles at finishtherace.com, finishtherace.com. All right. When President Trump finally was able to work through the lawsuits. Remember, he was getting sued by everybody to not build the wall, and he was getting sued by all the George Soros groups trying to keep the borders from being too secure. You know, we still want people pouring in because we've got these people that need asylum and they need a place to go to. And yes, they're economic refugees and they're dressed with Levi's on and Nikes and backpacks. But, you know, don't turn them away. That would be mean. Well, the Trump administration's like, well, we're going to put Americans first, and so we're not going to have people coming in the country unvetted. So as COVID was starting, the Trump administration, through the CDC, put in something called Title 42. And Title 42 basically said, you know what? Okay, you're up here at the border. You're trying to claim asylum or something, but we have COVID in the country, so we can't let you in. So go away. It was a Trump-era policy that authorized the Border Patrol to turn away migrants at the border over COVID. Well, the CDC's like, well, it's going to expire. And since COVID isn't really an issue anymore, what do you guys want to do, Biden administration? Oh, yeah, let's go ahead and let Title 42 end. Oh, so guess what happens? The hundreds of thousands of illegals that were turned away, they didn't go back to El Salvador or to Africa or to Asia. They didn't go back home. They're like, eventually we're going to get in. So now there's already a flood of people pouring across the country, and there's people that are forming across from the entry points waiting for in May, for May 23rd. If Title 42 ends on May 23rd, there'll be a flood of people pouring in that will blow our minds. Hundreds of thousands of people in one day. Normally 10,000, 8,000, maybe 10, they're talking about Title 42, if they get in a normal flow, 16,000 people per day from over 150 different nations. But this rush would just be they couldn't handle it. The towns on the border would be overflooded. The crime, it would be, and everybody knows it. But you know what? The Biden administration's like, we don't care. End it. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is from communist Cuba, and he hates America. How do we know that? Because for him to have the borders open for the year and 2 months he's been in his position has created record deaths from fentanyl, from the drugs pouring in. Massive amount of child abductions, human trafficking, gang activity, and he now wants to go let hundreds of thousands of people pour in at one time and they end up in the interior of our country. Well, fortunately, President Trump put in a very large number of federal judges and the 3 Supreme Court justices while he was in office. And what happens is when a case tries to come up through a Trump constitutionalist, originalist judge, they go, what? Wait, you can't do that, Joe Biden. You can't do it. 3 attorney generals from Missouri, Louisiana, and Arizona had filed for a restraining order to be put in place to prevent Title 42 from ending in May. 18 other Republican attorney generals, which for a total of 21 states, joined in total. Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt was the lead on this, and he announced on Monday afternoon that he got a federal judge to sign off on a request for the temporary restraining order, preventing Biden from lifting Title 42. Judge Robert Summerhays of the U.S. District Court of the Western District of Louisiana approved the temporary restraining order against the Biden administration. He said, quote, "The court discussed the motion for temporary restraining order filed by the plaintiffs. For the reasons stated on the record, the court announced its intent to grant the motion. The parties will confer regarding the specific terms to be contained in the temporary restraining order and attempt to reach an agreement." The announcement on April 1st by the CDC stated that they would be ending the policy, which was met with criticism from both sides. But even though Senator Sinema from Arizona, the other senator, who the astronaut, I always forget his name, but I'll figure it out here in a second. But both Mark Kelly, both Arizona U.S. senators are Democrats, Mark Kelly and Kyrsten Sinema, and other Democrats in moderate states or counties or districts around the country, but the elections are coming up in November, and if liberals or if politicians want to join in on lifting 42 and flooding the country with hundreds of thousands of people, we don't know who they are, they will definitely lose their elections in November. So the Democrats that don't want to lose their jobs are like, hey, Biden, nobody wants this except Mayorkas, so don't do it. Well, it took a judge from Louisiana to say, okay, you can't do it. You guys keep talking about it. So that was the first thing that had to take place. A judge said no. Now, the Supreme Court today heard a program. It's called the Remain in Mexico program. 2019, Trump administration put it in. And what it did is it eliminated the disastrous policy of catch and release at the U.S.-Mexico border. The Soros open border globalist, Koch brothers, Chamber of Commerce. We want millions of illegals in the country, more. Hate this. Because believe it or not, they actually will catch somebody, take their name and supposedly a phone number or where they're going to be, and then they let them go unvetted. But DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas issued a memorandum that last year he terminated it on June 1st of 2021. The way it worked is this. You come to the border. Oh, I'm claiming asylum, blah, blah, blah. Well, before you'd be catch and release. All right, well, you're here, information, we'll get you back with you on a court date, go. The Trump administration pressured Mexico and said, you know what? You're going to hold. You're going to set up facilities. You're going to allow people to wait on your side of the fence until their asylum hearing comes up. We're not going to do that. Trump said, fine, I'll put a 25% tax on everything coming across that border. Oh, no, we would love to put 26,000 of our troops on the border to keep people from coming across. We would love to help you with the stay in Mexico policy. And it worked. So people quit coming up to the border because if you were going to try to go through now, if you were going to totally break the law, go through the open fences, you didn't care. But if you were someone that actually were used to following the rules, and then you were told to go up to the U.S. border and then you were going to be let in, you're like, well, how does this work? Well, the open borders people, the United Nations, and all them are like, well, just go up and tell them that you're fearful for your life and you're going to get killed back home and they'll let you in. Well, now with this new policy back then, 2019, go to the border. Okay, great. Fill out we got your application for asylum. Go back to Mexico. Wait, no, I was supposed to go in the United States, man, and get the free stuff and get kids go to school and the food. Nope. You'd go live in a tent over in Mexico. So they quit coming. Well, Mayorkas, hey, I've been in office here for 3 months. No, back to catch and release. Because, see, they have something called Advocates for Victims of Illegal Alien Crime and the American First Legal Foundation and the Immigration Reform Law Institute and other Soros groups. They're backing the Texas Attorney General. And they're like, yeah, we don't want people coming in the country and hurting people. We want you to follow the law. But then you got these groups. Those aren't the Soros groups. I'm sorry. Those are the good groups. But then you have what they call the Stand Safe Not Stranded hashtag group. Safe Not Stranded. Well, they showed up and they were protesting outside the Supreme Court, representing Soros and these guys and all these groups, open borders groups, that by making people stay in Mexico and just denying asylum, then they're not getting medical care they need, and they're getting murdered while they're waiting in unfamiliar cities, and they're dying trying to cross over the Rio Grande. So the Supreme Court heard the argument today. Was it legal? And was it properly planned and organized and coordinated to simply say, the hundreds of thousands of you pouring in and we don't know who you are, trying to do catch and release, was it done correctly for the Biden administration just to arbitrarily say, over, catch and release? Even though there's immigration laws in place that say that's not how it's supposed to work. Supreme Court is going to decide, is it the Congress, which the Constitution says is responsible for setting the uniform immigration policies? Or is it a far-left Department of Homeland Security secretary that wants everyone to come in so they can deconstruct America? So the Supreme Court and the court in Louisiana, they're today they dealt with Title 42, saying you can't let that expire right now. And Supreme Court heard arguments on should the Remain in Mexico policy be put back full in force and people stop coming in the country. Isn't it? It's a crazy thing when you think about it. That we're in a country that there's a group of people that want America to go away. And I'm going to finish with this and we'll be done here in a minute. I wrote about this today on Trending Politics. You can also find it on eric-thompson-show.com. Secretive Soros-funded group is working with the Biden administration. You may not know this. I didn't know it till I got into the minutia of it, but listen to this real quick. George Soros is a billionaire from Hungary, and he's a chairman of the Open Societies Foundation. And I think he's put 16% of his wealth, a lot of money, into funding progressive groups. So he indirectly funds the Governing for Impact group, which allows them to work behind the scenes with governments, including President Biden's administration, to help shape policies, according to documents reviewed by Fox News. Yes, George Soros funds a group that works to help the Biden administration shape their policies, to actually write, to formulate how things should be presented to the leaders of the Congress so they can try to pass laws that Biden can sign. And this is what they said. This is a Soros is affecting the way that America runs. GFI's vision on their website says that they want to govern for impact is dedicated to building a world where boards lead the organization to achieving clear purpose and critical outcomes in the ethical, prudent, just, and risk-aware in a ethical, prudent, just, and risk-aware manner. We envision a world in which organizations are led by boards that create value in the lives of people they serve. We also envision boards that the governance systems, tools, and research that have the tools and research to practice effective governance. They lead with purpose, integrity, accountability to the shareholders, careholders, and communities on whose behalf they govern. Further, we envision a world in which governance is widely recognized as a distinct, disciplined, and valued practice focused on securing and sustaining a healthy, safe, equitable future for all, period. The boards and in their internal memos that they gave the Biden administration is to help them implement more than 20 of their regulatory agenda items to reverse Trump-era deregulations by zeroing in on education, environmental, healthcare, housing, and labor issues. We always talk about the deep state. It's real. George Soros's shell groups, one of them is GFI, is actually giving, here's papers, here are regulatory items, this is how you could write it, and this would help fix Trump deregulations where he deconstructed the government to not make it so inclusive and intrusive. And if you follow these, Biden, it's going to help fix what Trump did with education, the environment, healthcare, housing, and labor issues. Our open society is proud to support Governing for Impact's efforts to protect American workers, consumers, patients, students, and the environment through policy reform, said Tom Perello, the executive director of Soros's Open Society Foundation. What's happening right now in the United States is this. While there's groups, attorney generals, governors fighting the open policies of the Biden administration, like Title 42 and the remaining Mexico policy. While that's going on, the Courts are going after, because of Durham, they're going after the Russian hoax. They're going after Hunter Biden, his business dealings, and possibly Joe. So those things are happening. But what's also happening is this. People are pouring across our border right now from different countries. Fentanyl has record number of youth dying from fentanyl coming across the border. Hundreds of thousands of missing children, human trafficking, cartel members, gangs, violence pouring in the country. Our school system, we see video after video after video of freaky kindergarten and elementary school teachers indoctrinating the children into their LGBT plus lifestyles, trans. So this immersion of sin and destruction is taking place. And it's literally like we're on the Titanic. We've hit ice. There's water coming in. And there's the Americans, there's the people on the boat that want to live that are just waiting till November so they can start to patch the hole and keep the boat from going down. So every day, work hard, work local, make sure that we have our House members ready to go for November and senators, and then when we take everything back, take the Congress back in November, when everyone's sworn in, everything needs to come to a screeching halt. The Congress needs to pass reform immigration and say, we don't have any immigration at this time. No asylum. Don't need a return to Mexico policy because there's no asylum. There's no amnesty. There's nothing. No visas because we don't know who's here. There's 40 million people, so we're not going to do immigration for a while. The world blows up. We're going to call out the Great Reset and World Economic Forum as being anti-American, Marxist, and we're going to force out, because everything I just read there, and then I'll finish here, I promise. Listen to these words, the words in this statement that GFI wrote. In the Great Reset, they talk about stakeholders, governance, and they talk about equity. So here's the vision of George Soros working with the Biden administration on 20 different regulatory agenda items. This group envisions a world, not America. They envision the whole world in which organizations are being led by boards that create value in the lives of the people they serve. We also envision boards that have governance. That's ESG. That is the new social credit score for corporations, not Dun & Bradstreet. Not their regular credit score. It's their environmental, social justice, and governance score. So they envision boards that have the governance systems, tools, and research to practice effective governance. If you do that, you get a good G score. They lead with purpose, integrity, and accountability to the stakeholders, not the shareholders, stakeholders, careholders, and communities on whose behalf they govern. Further, they envision a world in which governance is widely recognized as a distinct, disciplined, and valued practice focused on securing and sustaining a healthy, safe, and what? Equitable future for all. Because the far left, the Great Reset, is about equity. It's not about equality. Equity. That's Marxism. That is totalitarianism. And that is why it is 100% un-American. My other sponsor, make sure that you go over to MyPillow. Make sure that you get over to Get Pure Talk. So that way you can save $800 a year on your cell phone service without anything different. GetPureTalk.com, promo code FLS. MyPillow, make sure you use a promo code FLS. But you're going to go to MyPillow.vip. It'll forward over to the page where you can get the best deals. MyPillow.vip, promo code FLS. Lastly, if you've got a 401k retirement and you are in a position where you cannot afford to lose any of that if the dollar goes down, with inflation, everything going crazy, the petrodollar going away, do me a favor, go over to Get Gold Co. That's a company, Goldco. GetGoldco.com. Get your free 2022 kit. It's going to help you to analyze, should you keep your money over there in your dollars, or should you get your money into precious metals? Sean Hannity and all them are pushing this. They got it A+ rated, Google and all them. So head over to getgoldco.com. Order your free 2022 Wealth Protection Kit. Getgoldco.com. Free 2022 Wealth Protection Kit.